Hello, my bipedal companion. I hope you eager beavers have the moxie to learn about movies today. Be warned, these dames may use profanity from this point forward. So if that doesn't want to make you snap your hat, then grab a cup of joe and enjoy Chicks on Flicks.
Welcome to Chicks on Flicks, a cinema history podcast that, based on saying you should be able to figure out, it takes itself so seriously. We're so serious about this stuff, guys. Hi, I'm your host, Laura.
And I'm your sometimes co-host, Tess.
That's right. And today we got a lot of stuff to talk about. But first, I feel like I should ask Tess, how's your day going?
It's going pretty chill, everything with what's going on in the world right now. All I can do is be chill.
Yeah, I mean, let's not avoid the elephant in the room. There's this thing going on, and I am trying to look at it positively because this is going to give me an opportunity and many other people to an opportunity to just research things that they wouldn't normally get to research. And I know that the one thing I thought, well, if I have all this time to just spend looking up stuff, I would want to learn more about cinema history. How about you?
I mean, if we're being honest with the audience, you're the one who came to me, and it did sound like fun. I mean, I'm just a girl who really likes film, but I've never actually researched the in and outs of film or anything like that. So I'm excited to see the things that we do find out.
Okay, I do have something to admit. In
Yes.
college, I did take a screenwriting class and I took a cinema history class.
Okay. So you're just setting me up for failure, and you're going to look like the true expert.
No, that was 12 years ago. I don't remember anything. It was just like an excuse to watch movies at school and like get graded on it. It was awesome. I mean, I don't remember much except there was a girl in a red dress, a guy shooting at the screen, and some railroads. I mean, black and white, and Buster Keaton. There you go. There was all. That's it.
That's all a film. That's all you need to know. Thanks for joining the podcast, everybody. I hope you loved
Hi.
this brief history of film.
Um, but no, we're not gonna. That's not it. That's not it. We want to talk about something interesting, and every week we're going to be discussing a subject involving cinema history. And sometimes it's going to be me, and then sometimes Tess may take over the reins, and we'll dive into a subject that she wants. But this week we're diving into a subject that I hold very near and dear to my heart. You know, without stakes in my heart.
Do I get to say it, or are you going to say it?
Do you want to guess what it is?
Well, I know what it is because I know you, and I know it's got to do something with vampires.
Of course, it has to do something with vampires. Of course. Initially, I was looking at this and going, "All right, I want to talk about all the vampire movies in history." And I don't know if you've looked at all the vampire movies in history, but there's a buttload.
I bet. I mean, not only that, but I'm sure that you could research like stuff even before film happened with all the vampire nonsense.
Absolutely. There's too much. There's just too much information out there, so we had to whittle it down. And I thought, well, you know what? Instead of researching and talking about every vampire movie, because we could do that like forever. And hey, I wouldn't mind doing it. Doing some more vampire movie
Let's
trivia
just make this
later.
a vampire podcast.
Hell
Why
yeah!
have it be a film?
Oh, well, just
Just
every
kidding.
episode is about like a new vampire movie. I love it. I love it. No, 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 no. I think a good place to start would be the first vampire movie ever made. And Tess, do you know what that is?
I think I do, but I'm gonna let you say it.
No, you should say what you think it is.
All right, I'm gonna say Dracula.
Well, it would kind of, yeah, actually. I mean, it was based off of Dracula. Okay, within the research, I said I'm going to do the first vampire movie. I said I'm going to be talking about Nosferatu. I thought that Nosferatu was the first vampire movie, which is based off Dracula, like you said, but it's not.
Interesting. Wait,
Nosferatu is not the first vampire movie. I found out.
what's the first one then?
A lot of people don't know that the first vampire movie ever made was a vampire movie called Dracula's Death.
Ooh,
Had you ever heard of this?
No, I just meant straight up Dracula.
I mean, technically, I mean, it has Dracula in it, so you're right. I mean, it was a Dracula movie. No copies of this Hungarian film, survive. But if anybody were to ask you what the first vampire movie ever made was, it was a movie called Dracula's Death, and it was a Hungarian film, and it was a loose adaptation of the book Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, that makes sense.
But since no copies of this one remain, and the only reason we know about it is because there were like newspaper clippings and like magazine covers and publicity shots for it, we're going to be talking about Nosferatu. So technically, we're going to be talking about the second vampire movie ever made.
The other one was fake news, anyways.
It was fake news. Yeah, yeah. Don't believe what they say.
Don't believe the hype.
In newspaper articles from the 1900s.
What do they know?
Well, they know, even though it's on, black and white, and some Hungarian researcher found out this, posted online, and I'm trusting it.
Perfect.
But yes, as you may or could imagine, most vampire movies are based off Dracula, because Dracula was written in 1897 by someone called Bram Stoker, or Abraham Stoker. He was born in Dublin, Ireland, and moved to England and grew up and wrote this amazing book. And it was a very popular book. I'm sure most people that are listening to this podcast already know this, but I'm going to go over it really quick. Over 30,000 copies were sold per year once it was published. And unfortunately, Bram Stoker didn't get most of the money from these books that he sold. They went to his publisher. Bad deal. Not a good thing. And then he passed away in 1911, possibly from syphilis.
Oh, syphilis. All the greats die of syphilis.
Well, yeah. Or cardiac event, caused by syphilis. But he was.
Yeah, but the real partiers, the real cool guys, they're all the syphilis infested.
I wouldn't know, but it's possible. He's possible. He was cremated. And if you, some people like to do this. If you want to do this, you can go see his cremated remains at the Golders Green Crematorium in North London.
Now that sounds like something that you would have done, Laura.
Well, I mean, yeah, wouldn't you? I mean, most people go to famous people's graves. Like, hey, Jim Morrison, people visit his grave all the time.
I can't say that I have, but just knowing your, let's say, obsession with vampires, I would assume that you've been on this little adventure.
No, but it's on my list now. So anyone else out there who is interested, the address is number 26 St. George's Square, London. So anyway, yes, Bram Stoker's making all this money from writing Dracula. Amazing book. Everybody's loving it. And then a couple people are like, well, naturally, this book is great. We should make a movie about it. And that's where most of these Dracula movies or just in general vampire movies come from. Nosferatu has a bigger name than just Nosferatu. It's actually, the whole title of Nosferatu is Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror. And the whole movie is just a product of intellectual theft, because do you think that they got the rights for Dracula's story?
Oh. I mean, I assume that everybody was just loosey-goosey back then.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think it really crossed their mind. And then particularly for this creative, we'll call him a creative director / producer, Albin Grau. He's the mastermind of this whole movie. And let me talk really quickly about Albin. He was a soldier in World War One. He was in Serbia in World War One, and he came in contact with a farmer who claimed he was the son of a vampire.
That is cool.
It's kind of a cool like story, and it got Albin just really obsessed with the occult ever since then. So from like World War One to about 1921, that's all Albin did. And if you really look up like the history of Albin Grau, you'll see he did a lot of the architectural and artistic character concepts for this movie. He was kind of the artistic director behind the whole thing. He really felt passionate about this project, so much so that he just dove everything he had into it. joined with a partner, Enrico Diekmann. And these are all going to be German names because Nosferatu is a German film. I should probably mention. But Albin and Enrico, they established a new studio called Prana Film in Germany, and they're like, all right, first movie out of the gate, Dracula. Except we can't call it Dracula because otherwise we might get sued. So we're going to work around that. And instead of it being Dracula, let's call our vampire Count Orlok. And then from there, they kind of followed the rest of the book to a certain extent. And that's kind of how Nosferatu was made as a complete
How interesting.
copy, you know.
So I'm going to admit something that I didn't want to admit to you. I've never seen Nosferatu. Yeah.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I know what it looks like, obviously, with our background being makeup. I thought his name was Nosferatu. So do you know why the film is called Nosferatu?
I do. Yes, the word Nosferatu is possibly derived from the archaic Slovak or Romanian word Nesferitu or Nekaratu, and these translate roughly as the insufferable one or the repugnant one or the unclean spirit. But alternatively, Nosferatu, the word, could be from the Greek word nosophoros, meaning plague carrier. Either way, Bram Stoker put it in his book, this word Nosferatu, and got it considerably wrong. So, as just more evidence and proof that they did kind of take their inspiration from Bram Stoker's Dracula, the book, they named their movie Nosferatu, and it's like smoking gun. Oh, gee, I wonder where you got that idea.
Right.
So if you went to one of these places, if you went to Romania, if you went to Slovakia, if you went to that area and you said the word Nosferatu to these people, these villagers, they'd be like, yeah, we know what you're saying now, but that's not actually what you think it means, and you actually have to say it like this, and it means plague carrier. Just FYI, they'd probably be quick to correct you.
Gotcha. So so basically, Prana Films is the origin of Vanilla Ice, where they tried to copy something, but it was so obvious that they couldn't get away with it.
Right. It was dun 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 dun, not dun 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 dun.
Oh, did you think we were saying Nosferatu? We were saying Nosferatu.
Oh, whoa, no. Yeah, copyright laws were. I mean, I'm sure they were there, but maybe they weren't being taken as seriously. But for whatever reason, Grau, he was either unwilling or unable to secure the necessary rights, and he went ahead. He just was like, I'm doing it. I'm doing whether you want me to or not, and he does. And so yes, the setting was changed to 17th century Germany. Count Dracula became Count Orlok, and a couple of the other characters' names were switched around, and some things were original in that movie that we'll get to later. But largely as a whole, it's a very entertaining movie. I will admit, I watched that movie. The first time I watched Nosferatu, I was 15 years old, and I was at a friend's house, and it was around Halloween, of course, and we were like, we're just gonna, let's watch some classics. And this one, I think, had just been re-released because they had found a remastered version of it, and so we got the VHS from Blockbuster, and we went home and we watched it, which is a very old sentence.
Classic on a classic.
It was good. It was we fell asleep a couple of times. There are some dry points in the movie. There are some very slow points, but overall, visually speaking, it holds up. It holds up, absolutely. And the guy playing Nosferatu, which we'll discuss later, Max Schreck. I mean, I don't know. I mean, no, he could act today. His performance was just as effective in black and white. No voice, no color. Did just the creepiest job you could imagine as this creature. Let's get to the production side of it. Like, what happened during filming? Well, they before they could film, they had to rewrite it, and it was written by, or the screenplay at least was rewritten by a guy named Heinrich Galen. And he was a famous writer in the 1920s who had also written a movie called The Golem, which some people might recognize. Have you ever seen The Golem? Another black and white monster movie.
No, man. If we keep talking about black and whites, I'm gonna get real lost real soon.
Okay, how about this?
Okay.
Huh?
I
No,
was
no,
gonna say I've seen very few, but go ahead.
Oh, we're gonna have a good like classic monster night at this rate. But have you ever watched The Simpsons?
Yes.
Okay, there's an episode of The Simpsons Halloween Horror Treehouse episode where Lisa finds this big giant clay golem, and if you write a note and you put it in its mouth, the golem becomes alive and has to do anything that was in that note. It was kind of a famous Treehouse of Horrors episode, but that was based off of this movie called The Golem. And then the same writer who wrote that movie also wrote our Nosferatu movie. So they found a good writer of reputable fame.
And classically wrote that Simpsons episode too, am I right?
Right. Yeah. Even 80 years later, he's still going at it. No.
Yeah. All right. I tried.
No. Yeah. I was trying. I was like, maybe people would be interested in the writer if I connect these dots. So,
No, it's great.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy. Good German writer. To direct Nosferatu, Prana Film asked F.W. Murnau. And it's a hard name. Sometimes I call him Merlot, like the wine, just to be able to remember his name.
Mr. Merlot. Got it.
Mr. Merlot, yeah. But it's Murnau. It's Murnau. He was a filmmaker renowned for his expressionistic style. And he worked very closely with Grau to get the art side of this whole movie together. And with the producer, also acting as the designer, Grau.
Oh, wow. So he was the director and the actor as well?
Yeah, Grau was not only the producer, but he was kind of also the art director. He had a background in architecture, and he did some really good paintings. You can find some of Grau's paintings. There's like a self-portrait of him. That's not too bad. I mean, like he had talent, artistic talent.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, because I can imagine everything in Nosferatu, like the artistic design. So to know that one guy did all of that, plus directed, and I'm assuming did the cinematography maybe, is quite impressive.
So the Grau and Murnau worked very closely together in order to create the environment. But Grau was pivotal in the design aspects of like the interiors and a lot of the sets that they made, and specifically the costume and Count Orlok's makeup. He kind of outlined everything, like how he wanted it to look. And there's even a scene in the movie where one of the characters like unrolls an ancient scroll, and it has all of these cryptic occult like symbols all over it. Grau specifically, like by himself, wrote that out for a prop.
That's pretty cool.
Just I thought it was an interesting tidbit. I was like, oh, okay. Probably.
Cool.
I mean, on string budget, maybe they just go for
it. No unions back then to say no. I have to write that prop.
Absolutely. You're like, oh, only I can figure this out. So yeah, I can see him just being in charge and being like, no, it's got to be this way, or no, it's got to be this way.
Right.
So, all right. So Grau and Murnau, they go out into Germany and they're going to start filming. But before they can start filming, they're going to need some actors. And this is where Friedrich Gustav Maximilian Schreck, that's his full name.
Wow.
Also known as professionally as Max Schreck.
Way better.
Came in. Yeah. He was a good actor. Like they knew him. He was renowned for playing these really creepy roles, and he looked creepy too. He was very gaunt. Had kind of a Peter Kushner look to him. Long face, buggy eyes, good cheekbones. And for a while, a lot of people didn't really know who he was. There wasn't a lot of history or backstory about him. I mean, we know more about him now, but we'll go into detail later about a myth involving his involvement into this movie. He was very method, very like he got on set.
Oh man.
He was in his costume. He was in his makeup. You couldn't talk to Max Schreck. You had to talk to Count Orlok.
Yeah, we've worked with many an actor like that. It is quite interesting, and I can't imagine doing it with a vampire.
I don't know. I'd kind of be fascinated to see how his take on it, but mostly just avoid him because.
Yeah. You're going to try to hypnotize me. You're going to try to bite my neck. I'm not here for it. I just want to touch up your makeup, sir.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Well, and interestingly enough, at this time, there were no, as far as I know, on this movie, there was no makeup artist. The actors did their own makeup.
Right.
So Max was probably, getting his own little bald cap on because he was using a bald cap. You can see there's a couple of really good photos of him. He probably is getting his little his wig pieces, some mortician wax. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot going on with that makeup, and there's nothing written down as far as I know about how he did it. But we could look at a picture and probably best guess, figure out what he was doing with the techniques that they had available with them at the time, which was grease paint, mortician's wax, lace, hair pieces, and then these long fingers, these long curvy fingers.
Oh, like extended fingers?
Yeah, like he had
Nice.
he made these extended fingers. They looked great.
I was just going to say that would be another really fun episode to do just for us and our craft to talk about, I guess, the evolution of makeup and how actors used to do their makeup and how it would have evolved into other people doing their makeup and why.
Germany had some really good stuff actually around this time. The first cosmetics counter was in Berlin around
Nice.
the 1920s, like the first official one in a mall. But actors for theater, they're probably not using cosmetics as for. I mean, maybe they are. I mean, they're definitely using charcoal under the eyes. They're definitely using.
I've heard a lot of weird rumors like fish scales and other like products that you would not want to put on your face nowadays. But,
Oh yeah, lard.
it doesn't even make sense. How did it not melt off constantly?
Well, that's the thing. If they're in theater, they don't have to worry about the harsh lights because there's no electricity. But once electricity came into play and there were harsh lights, they had to switch from grease paint to powders. And that's a whole another episode, but it was interesting, to say the
Yeah.
least.
We're definitely getting off track, but I'm excited.
No. I mean, I'm interested in makeup and I'm interested in all aspects of the production. So it's interesting to me that this guy, not only is he acting, but he's also becoming in many ways the character, both mentally and physically. And so that's a lot. That's a lot of work. I mean, he has to be a good artist in a certain in a certain regard, just for his own face.
Yeah. Sounds exhausting.
It does. It does. It was not an easy job. And most of these actors were on their summer break when they chose to join this movie. They had their regular theater jobs. And then summer came along and somebody was like, yeah, do you wanna traipse around Germany and film something? They're like, yeah, sure. Extra money, why not?
Awesome.
But this is the 1920s, so it probably didn't sound like that. And they're German, so jawohl. Ja, sounds good. Ja, gut. Sehr gut.
That sounds like a perfect representation of 1920s Germany. Give it to me one more time.
Nein. My German extends to Indiana Jones. Schnell. Nein. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for anybody German who's listening to this. So yes, Nosferatu was shot on a tight budget, with Murnau actually using exterior locations as much as possible. For those not in the film industry, where exterior on-site locations means they're going to actually have to go to somewhere and film an actual building and like walk down the street and like corner it off to get this shot. Most of it was in northern Slovakia, and that stood in for Transylvania. And while they were there, Fritz Arno Wagner, this is the cameraman, toted his single camera, his Dupree Le Parvo 35 millimeter camera, everywhere. So if anybody cares what the camera was, that was it, a Dupree Le Parvo 35 millimeter camera, which was high tech at the time. I'm sure today would be like, but it was your typical, I think it was your typical crank kind of camera.
I'm sure it was one of those 100-pound cameras that the poor guy had to carry everywhere.
And to compare to today, I mean, I think you and I are so used to seeing everything done digitally, and as soon as it's filmed, it goes into a hard drive, and then you have that film forever. But these guys, I mean, if they didn't know how to work that camera, they could have worked all day, and then somebody exposes the film to light, and then well, I guess it's gone. We're gonna have to do it again. So I salute these people. They were hard workers.
Yeah.
Or at least very technically savvy. But yeah, filming took place all over Slovakia, Germany for 3 months between July and October 1921. And then, yes, a lot of the interiors for the movie were built by Albin Grau at Jofar Alterier Studios in Berlin, in Johannisthal. I'm sorry for murdering the names.
Oh, it's funny that you mention how when the film gets exposed to sunlight, like boom, it's gone, just like a vampire.
Yeah, that's kind of, you know what? That's kind of poetic that you mentioned that, because remember before when I said that there were some original ideas in this movie?
Yes.
Yeah. The director, Murnau, he had a couple of really good ideas, and there's one takeaway from this movie, or one takeaway from this movie that I think our audience would be interested in, is that the idea of vampires burning up when exposed to light came directly from this movie. That had never been done before. That wasn't in Dracula. In Dracula, the book, Dracula could be exposed to broad daylight. It would greatly weaken him, but he could still walk around. Whereas in Nosferatu, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, he dies at the end when exposed to the sun rays.
I feel like most of everybody has had to see the classic scene where he's like in the window and just disappears. Oh, it's a podcast, so they can't see my really great pose that I'm doing right now.
I know. Oh, yeah, let me try to describe what she's doing. She's got one hand under her chin, she's got one above her head, and they're both claws, and she's looking up at the sky in disgust.
Thank you.
So that was it. That was the climax of the movie, and it was kind of like, okay, well, and it was poignant because the real destroyer of the vampire was the girl who heroically sacrificed herself to keep him in the bedchambers long enough so that he would forget about the sun rising, and poof, he goes away. Poor Count Orlok. That's it.
That's pretty cool. So how you killed vampires before Nosferatu was just the wooden stake, or was there garlic involved too?
And head chopping. Yeah, I mean,
head chopping.
And head chopping was a good thing too. I think Dracula gets his head chopped off at the very end. But it's every other cliche as far as vampires concerned is pretty much Bram Stoker all the way. Holy water, earth from the ground turning into rats and fog and all that good jazz. Shortly before, so they get done filming this movie, and yay, they're done. They decide that they're going to have a premiere, like you do.
Mm-hmm.
They do this on March the 4th, 1922, at the Berlin Zoological Garden. I found that kind of odd, like, really, zoological garden? But it was a nice little theater. There's photos of how it looked back in 1922 when this premiere was going on. Unfortunately, the movie wasn't really praised. I mean, Grau and Enrico, the producers, they brought all these newspaper reporters, and the film played, and most of people enjoyed it, but um, the party itself entertained them more so than the movie. And so all of these newspaper reviews just couldn't stop talking about the party. Like everyone was dressed to the nines, everybody had costumes on. It was like a masked party. The hors d'oeuvres are amazing, the drinks are amazing. If you read any of these newspaper clippings, they just want to talk about the party. They don't want to talk about the movie.
Oh,
So no one, no, so ended up like not being a big splash in the pan, not as big as the producers had want. And of course, they weren't able to make another one. The thing about Prana Film was that Grau was so big into the occult. That was his thing. He wanted to do monster movies like that. That he, Nosferatu was going to be his first one, but after that, they were going to do a bunch of other kinds of monsters. But they needed to get their money back for what they invested, and they didn't. So, unfortunately, Prana Film went under.
oh, how sad.
Mhm.
I guess he was just a little ahead of his time because I feel like in the 1940s there was plenty of monster movies.
Yeah, they were the Universal Studios of their time, and if they had actually made some money off of this movie, they may have done extraordinarily well.
Learn
But
from mistakes, kids. Don't throw the most bomb party ever where people forget why they're there.
I mean, I hope they had a blast. Apparently, they spent as much money on this premiere as they did on the entire production of the movie.
That's ludicrous.
Yeah, but I mean,
You don't have money to make a set. You have to have your poor cameraman walk around everywhere with his 100-pound camera, but then you throw this lavish party. I bet the cameraman was loving that.
And of course, after they were bankrupt, Bram Stoker's widow, who had the rights for Bram Stoker's Dracula the book, decides she's going to sue them.
Oh man, so just get hammered one after the other.
But they didn't have any money at that point, so they're like, okay, you can sue us. For what? But she went to a German court and like did it like legit, and the court told Prana Film, you're gonna have to destroy every copy of your film that you made, so get rid of it.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then that's where Nosferatu ends. No one ever saw it. No.
Well, we all know that that's not true. Otherwise, we would not be talking about this today.
Right. There was a copy that was sent to America, and it toured around for quite a few years and got a cult following.
Okay, so backing up, Prana Film went bankrupt. There was one copy that circulated the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got a cult following. And then what happened with their cult following?
It still exists to this day. I
Sweet.
mean, the copies upon copies upon copies were made of Nosferatu on this one traveling version, and the widow's wife, Bram Stoker's widow, couldn't get rid of it. She tried. She didn't like it. She was not
Man.
happy about it.
I mean, if
at
there's
all.
one way to avenge your husband, I guess somebody's stealing his work and you're just trying to get the last copy. It's a pretty good vengeance scheme, I guess.
I don't know if she ever actually watched it. I think that she was just made aware of it, that somebody had sent her in the mail a poster of Nosferatu, the movie, and then she went to the German court, filed a complaint, sued them. They ordered all the copies to be destroyed, and that was it. And she tried to track down, from my understanding, several copies to destroy herself, but was unable to get every single one of them.
Well, I'm glad she didn't, because I still need to watch it.
Well, good. There's some very good copies. But if you don't end up watching it, I have a few other suggestions for you as far as
All right.
Nosferatu is concerned. So, before I get into my favorite version, because there's going to be remakes. Hollywood's going to make some remakes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. There is a planned remake in the works as of now, as of 2020, and that's I've been following Doug Jones on Instagram. For people who don't know who Doug Jones is, he is a very famous actor who does a lot of makeup and creature suit roles. So he was the Fawn in Pan's Labyrinth. He was Abe Sapien in Hellboy. He was Billy in Hocus Pocus. And there were some rumors going around that he was going to redo Nosferatu for a while.
He would be so good.
He posted a couple shots of the makeup on his Instagram. As of now, I don't know what's happened with the movie. I don't know if they filmed it. I don't know if it got stopped because of the virus, as most of the films in Hollywood have. But that's the last I heard about it. That's the most current news on Nosferatu's remake.
Interesting.
Now, before, do you remember me telling you about Max Schreck? So in 1953, a film critic named Edo Kuru wrongly claimed that the name of the actor who played Nosferatu, Max Schreck, it had never been revealed who this actor was. And he was slightly suggesting during this critique that Max Schreck was a real vampire, that they had actually found a real vampire to play a vampire in this movie, because Max Schreck's performance was just that good that people were like, yeah, that's plausible. He was so creepy, he had to be real.
What I would give to live in the 1950s and actually believe that they found a real vampire, and the vampire, all he wanted to do was play this role in a movie and then just explode in sunlight.
Okay, so if you're really interested, there was a movie in 2000 called Shadow of the Vampire, and it features John Malkovich playing the director, Murnau, and William Dafoe as Max Schreck. And the whole movie, the basis of this movie is that Max Schreck wasn't a real person. He was a vampire. They found a real vampire to be in the first vampire movie, and Murnau figures out a way to maybe destroy him, or he gets killed. I don't know. I don't want to ruin it for you. You're gonna have to watch it. It's a good movie.
Sounds hysterical. Sounds really fun and really hysterical.
Well, it wasn't a comedy. It was a drama. It was like a straight up, like, we're taking this seriously. And I mean,
Interesting. All right. Well,
no, William Dafoe does an amazing job, and I think the makeup got a award, if not an Oscar. I mean, I have to look that up. I think
William Dafoe's got those great bug eyes that would be perfect for Nosferatu. So I can see that. Yeah.
he was brilliant. It's one, if not my favorite William Dafoe movie of all time.
Wow.
And he's completely unrecognizable, and not just in the face, but also in his mannerisms. Everything is just perfect. I recommend it highly. He's great.
Awesome.
Other little tidbits about the movie Nosferatu. The character Max Schreck was portrayed by Christopher Walken in the movie Batman Returns. You know, the Tim Burton Batman Returns movie. Christopher Walken plays this character, has white hair, and kind of beats up on Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman.
Oh, right. He's like her boss, right? And throws her out the window.
Right. And his name is Max Schreck, so that's like a nod to Nosferatu.
Right.
And last tidbit on the movie Nosferatu is that the character, the vampire, is only seen for 9 minutes in total throughout the whole film.
That's it?
That's it, even though the movie is way over an hour.
Wow. That is crazy.
But he made such an impact in the whole movie that's all people could think. It's like Beetlejuice. You know, Beetlejuice was only in the movie 20 minutes.
I didn't even know that. You'd think that he's in the entire movie. But now if I think back, yeah, he's not in it very much. They just talk about him a lot.
Yeah.
Huh.
Do you know what you want to talk about next time? Should we save that, or do you want to give people a little taste, a little teaser?
I do know what I want to start researching. It is inspired by my D&D campaign. Super cool. But it's all about film noir and the hard-boiled detectives in the 1940s.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to hear that and all of those accents.
You're gonna have to do them for me.
The transatlantic accent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I can. They're very sharp. They're just like, it's like a gangster kind of. It's like a New York gangster kind of voice.
Yeah.
And they talk real fast, and they're always, putting the woman down like, you don't know what you're talking about, Marge.
Oh, they're very brash. But well, I don't want to give too much away. It's not all about hard-boiled detectives. I thought it was going to be, and I've started the research a little bit, and it's already turned into much more than I thought it would ever be.
So, I guess with that, thank you to Aaron Carver for the intro of our program, and thank you, listener, for listening. We know you have a variety of cinema type podcasts, and we appreciate you taking an earful of us. If you like what you heard, please press that like button and check out our Instagram page and tell us what you think. Preferably positive comments, because I'm pretty sensitive.
It'll be great.
But until then, yeah, no, it'll be good. I mean, everybody on the internet's so nice.
Just don't feed the trolls.
Trolls will be knocked off one by one. All right. Well, on that note, my name's Laura.
And I'm Tess Leia.
And remember, next time you watch a movie, read all the credits. Bye.
Well, wasn't that just a gas? A real killer diller. I gotta get these jive bombers out of my house. Well, we'll catch you next time. The girls will be back in just a jiff with more film facts and popcorn. And possibly a hug. Who knows?